Welcome to Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast, episode number 177. I am your host, Jeff Halash. This is our live call-in show for computer repair techs. The call-in number is 1-888-697-0162. The Computer Repair Podcast is brought to you by Pulse Printing and Promotions. Get help with all your print and promotional needs. Go to pulseprintpromo.com. Use the offer code PODNUTS for a 5% discount on every order. Let me introduce the co-host. We have Chris Carruthers from the Remote Support Tech team. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good.
Good. That was the shortest answer out of Chris ever.
One day I'm going to come up with something clever like you guys do all the time.
Also joining us today, we have Marvin Bee from MB Systems. Marvin, how you doing?
Today I am Comcastic, bombastic, fantastic.
Got nothing to follow up with that.
Very well.
Also joining us today, we have Josh McClure from Your PC Magician. Hey, Josh, how you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on the show. And I don't have any cool little sayings, so that's all. I'm good.
Good. Appreciate you coming on the show and sharing with us. Also today, we have Paco Lebron from Prodigy Techs in some other podcast that I can't remember the name of right now.
Actually, it's called the Computer Business Podcast.
We don't talk about that here, Paco.
I'm going to tell Matthew on you.
You don't listen to my show. What does it matter?
Rough crowd.
That's a serious podcast over there. We have fun here.
I remember my roots. I remember where I came from.
No, Paco and Matt Rodello over there do the computer repair or computer business podcast. Excuse me. Couldn't even remember the name. No, good show. A lot of good interviews and stuff on there, and you've been really coming in your own, man. So good job on that.
I do what I can.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to put you in the hot seat, and why don't you tell us a quick tip or story that we could learn from?
Okay. Quick tip or you can learn from. Basically, make sure you have your GPS on any of your equipment if it's enabled. I actually had my on-the-go business tablet, and essentially I don't know where I put it and lost it, essentially. But the good thing is it was encrypted, and I was able to detect it while it was in the route, and it was actually in motion somewhere. So I was able to remotely erase it and basically make sure nothing was compromised and ordered a new one. So just make sure you have all your securities put in place. And
what software did you have on there that you could remotely erase it?
It was the Android device manager. It was an Android tablet.
Okay.
So yeah, I was able to do that. And then so any equipment you have run around, make sure you're encrypted, back it up, because you have customer sensitive information if you're doing a lot of stuff on there. So.
Yep.
So let me get this right though. You actually lost like a 7-inch tablet that's like.
Actually, it was an 8-inch tablet, but yes.
Oh, it was an 8-inch tablet. That's even worse. It was an 8-inch tablet.
That inch matters. But anyway, no. So, what happened was yesterday I was in a rush and I forgot what I was doing, but I ended up leaving my place, coming back in my place. Then I placed it down on the post right outside of my apartment door, and I must have just ran out and forgot it right on the post. So. So as I realized it 40 minutes later, I called my brother, who happens to live in the building above me, or in the unit above me, and as he looked, it was already gone. So, yeah.
Oh, bummer. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that's what happened. So that's why I say lost versus stolen, although it was traveling, so I assume it was stolen, but I essentially lost it. So
somebody said, "Oh, there's a tablet sitting there. Let me pick that up and let me see who it belongs to."
Yeah, as long as I wave it up in the air for 10 minutes and nobody claims it, it's mine. Isn't that how that works?
Right. So yeah, that's basically what happened as far as my quick tip that I can talk about.
No, that's good. Have the GPS on and make sure you have something on there that you can actually wipe the drive, especially if you have sensitive data and at least your account on there.
Right. Yep.
Very cool. All right, Mr. Marvin B., what do you got for us this week?
Nothing.
Mr. Busy Pants, I'm sure that you had plenty to talk about this week, but we need you to just pick one.
I got a lot of things to talk about, but let me do a pitch for one of our products that we always talk about, Fab's Auto Backup.
Did
an upgrade on Friday,
Oh, nice.
For a dentist office. And basically, it was 5 stations, one of which was a peer server, Windows XP, and just went in there and did a basic upgrade and had to migrate 2 of their dental programs. And the major dentist there, they took Friday off so we could do this upgrade. And he was quite shocked that, it was just me that showed up. And I had told him that the upgrade would take from about 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and we'd be in and out. And he was like, "How in the world can you do that?" And I just said, "Well, I'm good." But basically,
I would say fantastic, but
yeah, fantastic. So, of course, he followed me from computer to computer to see what I was doing, to see if he could learn anything. And I used Fab's Auto Backup to do the backup of all the computers first. But the only thing different was, I don't know if all the techs know this, but you should know this, that if you get the Pro version, you can brand it so that it shows up as your company with your information. So it doesn't say Fab's, it'll say MB Systems Portable Backup.
I did not know that.
He's looking at me like, "You have your own backup program?" I'm, "Yes, I do." So that was a nice little thing that he was quite pleased that we got all of his systems upgraded and taken over, and all done on Friday. Just one person, one network, one job.
Very nice. And yeah, Fabs is great for that. Plus, it's nice to have that branding because you can go into a place like that and they go, "Yeah, it's not." They can't figure out exactly what you're using because you're using something that's branded to you. So yeah, definitely.
Crazy. I've had Fabs for like a year and a half. Had no idea it had a branding component to it.
Yep. It's nice because you charge, and they're not thinking that they can just go get it themselves.
Right.
Because it's branded with your information. So
right.
Just tell them, "Look, this is what you're paying for. You're paying for professional backup. You're paying for a professional migration. I'm doing this the right way. This is what my company is." And so whatever, I forgot what I charged them. I don't know, $1,000 to.
There you go.
Actually, it was $249 a station to do everything. So
nice.
But you're making it convenient on them and getting the job done. That's what's important, and that's what we do.
Yep.
Very cool. All right, and Josh, if you want to share a quick tip or story with us that's going on in your business lately.
Sure. Well, I actually want to share 2. One's really quick, though. My life changed this week when I bought a new chair for my desk. I had the worst chair ever. It was taped together, falling apart, and I went out and got a nice, expensive chair that has good lumbar support, and my life has been different ever since. This thing, I think the chair itself has increased my productivity, so therefore, go get yourself a nice chair. But anyways, the other one is I actually learned a couple weeks ago that my alma mater, VCU, here in Richmond, Virginia, they are providing their current students and alumni with a lynda.com membership. And I didn't know this. It's a completely free membership to lynda.com, which is like the de facto go online, learn anything you want software or online service. So the past couple of weeks I've been spending hours and hours and hours watching everything from WordPress basics to CompTIA certification to subnetting classes, and so I've just been learning the past couple weeks, and so don't stop learning. Even if you think you know everything, don't stop learning.
Yeah, and if you think you know everything, just come talk to me, and I'll tell you you don't.
Yeah, he's good for that.
No, that's awesome. That's it's great to check out things you've done in the past as far as going to school and different things that you might have available to you. Definitely check that out with the different universities and stuff that maybe you've graduated from or have gone to in the past, because that's great that the alumni get something like that. And now, what type of chair did you end up getting?
Yes, I was going to get the Herman Miller Aeron. Everybody has seen this chair.
Sure.
The mesh chair. I ended up getting it's a Steel Series, or I can't remember the exact name. I think it's called Steel Series, but it's
Is it the Leap?
The Leap. That's it.
Okay.
It's the Leap. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know anything about chairs. I just know my chair.
So, yeah, it's the Leap. It's a good chair. So.
Yeah, I checked those out, and they look like a really nice, comfortable chair. What I ended up doing is I ended up buying I've got this nice leather executive chair behind me that I basically don't use anymore because I went and bought something with memory foam. And if you guys want a real quick tip about chairs, never ever buy something with memory foam that you're going to sit in because the memory foam gets compressed. I don't care how much you weigh. I'm 180 pounds, and
What?
the chair will get compressed. Yeah, the chair will get compressed. I'm short though. The chair will get compressed, and you'll basically be sitting on the hard wood of the chair or the plastic down in the bottom, and it will make your rear end sore. So definitely, what happens is when you get up, it takes time for that foam to get back out of that shape that you created. So definitely don't get a chair with memory foam. I ended up getting a $100 task chair, which a couple reasons, because it's very hot in this office, and I needed something to breathe. And then it kind of supports me a little bit differently. I was going to get a SteelSeries Leap, and I looked at him, and I'm like, I don't know, is it going to be worth it? So I only ended up spending $100 on my chair, but definitely down the road. Now I've got at least one person that says, hey, these chairs are great. Now, do you find what's the difference in comfort compared to the chair you had before?
Oh, the one I had before was like that leather executive chair you have sitting back there. Actually, this one's more comfortable because the lumbar, there's a little bit more support there. And the armrests actually are more adjustable, so my armrest can go up a little bit higher so I don't have to reach up on top of my desk, whereas the armrests were lower on the leather chair. But here's what I did. I went to a used office supply store, and they have used desks, used chairs, used bookshelves, and so this SteelSeries chair is pretty expensive if you buy it brand new. But I got it for less than half off of retail because it was used. But it's in perfect shape. I wiped it down, cleaned it up, and I got a great chair for a relatively inexpensive price comparatively to retail.
Well, that's good, because if you got it for half price, that's a great deal, because if you go into an Office Max or Office Depot or whatever and buy some of these executive chairs, you're looking at $300, $400, $500 sometimes for these things. And unless you find them on sale or something like that. So getting that chair at half price for what it can do for you, that's great. That's a great tip right there. Is going to a used office supply store that has desks and chairs. You don't always need to pay for the premium brand new, because here's the thing: you're gonna nick it up, you're gonna use it, you're gonna wear it anyway. So you might as well save a little bit of money as you're buying these things. Very cool. Awesome, Josh. All right, so last but not least, we have Mr. Chris Carruthers. What sort of tip or story do you have for us?
I got two. Can we do that?
Absolutely. Right. You're on, man.
So first off, if you have an issue that you expect a lot of users to have that you've already handled, be quick to tell them. That whole Adobe Flash Player security hole, you guys hear about this?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so for those who haven't, a big security hole, encryption viruses, bad stuff. And it's simple, just update Adobe, right? So our managed service plan clients obviously have Adobe being updated because we're handling it. So as soon as we knew it was a problem, we approved the update and pushed it through. What I didn't do, though, is I didn't immediately send out a newsletter about it because I was more busy, making sure that everybody actually got the update, which wound up turning into a lot of emails and phone calls asking, hey, am I covered by this? Because they'll either get it from the Malwarebytes blog or some other source. So, if you want to save yourself a lot of time, take the 10 minutes, just write up the information and send it out to everybody because it'll save you a lot of time. The second one is don't ever assume anything about the customers that you are having come in. And the reason why I'm saying this is because of something that happened to me this week. In my own personal business, I've almost completely cut out residential support at this point to focus on business because less time, more money. I mean, let's face it. Plus, they tend to pay their bills. I had a random residential person ask me if I could take a look at a MacBook. I just needed to replace the hard drive, put a solid state in there, nice and happy. They're good to go. Turns out, by the way, with a Mac, if you just do a bit-by-bit transfer using like one of the 2 hard drive toasters and the new hard drive is bigger, you have to completely destroy and recreate the GUID partition table, or else it won't resize. Anyway, so I found that out the hard way because I had resized their system to the 250 gig, and they had to call me because they only had 160 gigs available. So I had to rebuild that whole thing. They were happy. I treated them just like I would anybody, and it turns out that they are a franchise owner of a very large restaurant chain, and they have asked me to come out and have a look at their Wi-Fi because their kitchen isn't getting Wi-Fi. And if I'm able to successfully fix that, I might wind up with a lot of other franchise owners calling me because they're having the same problem with these new systems that they're putting in. So, this random MacBook hard drive replacement might turn into, thousands of dollars worth of work.
Absolutely. And that's a great tip, and a lot of people don't realize that. Everybody always asks the question, how do I get into business? And for some people, like Marvin Bee, they just fall into it. For others of us out there that actually have to work for a living, I'm just kidding, Marvin. I'm just busting your chops. No, you know what? Sometimes it is being in the right place at the right time, but also from a residential standpoint, when you are fixing residential computers, and this is the same thing that happened with Marvin, I'm picking on him, but basically the customer will come in and go, hey, you did such a good job on my residential laptop, whatever it was, that a lot of times you'll be able to go, they'll have a business or they'll know somebody that has a business and says, hey, this guy actually knows what he's doing, check him out and see what he's got going on, and maybe he can help you out. And a lot of times that is a great way to break into business because, let's face it, a lot of us don't want to admit this, but this is the way life is. A lot of times it is about who you know. It just is. It's the relationships that you make in life over time will benefit you in the long run. And again, it's not just about getting things, but you're out there, you're giving of yourself, you're out there helping others, and you're doing the right thing, you're doing a good job, and that's going to come back and pay for itself in spades or dividends or whatever we're calling it today. Anyways. Okay. That's a greght tip. I'm sitting here thinking, trying to figure out what type of tip that I could possibly have over the work that I've done. I did have a system where I basically I had redid the system. Now I had a weird error come up on the hard drive, so I did an extended test on the hard drive, test everything out. They had done an upgrade to Windows 10. Something had happened. They wanted to roll back. It was past the 30 days. It was like 60 days. Tried to roll it back to a previous point on the system. It messed it up. It got stuck in this recovery loop. And so basically what I did was I went in, checked the hard drive thoroughly, did an extended test on it using the Western Digital software on my computer, and just, everything checked out fine. No problems. And basically, I put it all back together, got all the updates going, got everything done. It was a Windows 7 machine, and I put all the service packs and stuff on there. Got it done. The customer got it back, and they went to do something, and it was no fault of anybody's. I did not see any hardware errors whatsoever. But basically, the motherboard died like 2 days later, after they got it back. Now, when I had it, I was running it. 3 days of doing updates and different things and just making sure that getting their software back on there, starting everything up properly, and it's just one of those weird things. So at that point, I'm sitting there going, okay, what do I need to do to make this right? Because the reality is, and a lot of people will stand on this as, I have done the work, so therefore I deserve to be paid, and that is true. And I would never fault anybody for going, hey, sorry, that's the way it is. But in my own mind, for keeping not only customer satisfaction, but trying to figure out what's going to be best to help them in the future and down the road, what I'm trying to do is figure out what things I can do to kind of make up for this, because they've already paid for a service, and even though I did the work, it really it bit them, and right. So it was just wrong timing. Nothing anybody did, just was the way it is. And what were you saying, Paco?
No, I was agreeing with you. I was saying that essentially they think that they paid for the service, but in their eyes, their computer wasn't fixed. It wasn't repaired. They brought it in to get fixed, even though we know it's a different aspect of it. And like you said, there's two sides of it. It's either A, you did the work, you should get paid for it, or the other side is, which I stand with you, is customer satisfaction and the image of the business later on. Because I'd rather have a good experience and not a bad review to tank any other potential clients that may come to me versus, hey, this guy went above and beyond to help me out. They're going to have many referrals that will make up me covering whatever it is that may have gone on it. I mean, it may vary situation by situation, but essentially that holds true of what I do. Is more of my customer facing and brand recognition is what comes on top versus me getting paid.
Yeah, and I want go ahead, because I want everybody to chime in on this. In this particular situation, what would you guys do as far as keeping that customer satisfaction? Because again, this is going to be on a base by base, or a situation by situation. It's never going to be. There are no hard and fast rules on this. But in your opinion, when stuff like this happens, Chris, what would you do?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're right. It really comes down to what the situation is, right? And it comes down to the difference between flat rate billing and hourly billing. So, like, the example that I had used already with that Mac hard drive, like, hey, I learned something new because I haven't run into that problem. I treated it as warranty work. I didn't charge any extra for it, but we have time-based billing. So if a situation like what yours had happened, we charge by the hour. Right? So if somebody has a computer come in and I spent a half an hour fixing it, I'm going to charge them for that hour, but I'm marking down that I spent a half an hour on it. If a situation like what you just had happened where it was only 2 days later, hey, you know what? No problem. Let's bring it back on in. But I've already set the expectation with that customer that this is time-based billing. So I'm going to give you another free half hour because you've already basically paid for that. But if we go beyond the half hour, I have to charge, just like if this problem had happened when it first came in the shop in the first place.
Okay.
And I've never had pushback on that.
Okay. Josh, how about you?
Yeah, so I was thinking, the word empathy came to mind, and it's important to have empathy for your customers. A lot of IT guys can be seen as stoic and just flat, no emotions. I don't know. That's just a stereotype. I don't think I'm that way, but empathy is important. And if your customer gets their computer back that they spent $100, $200 on to get fixed, and 2 days later it's broken again, they feel their feelings is important. They feel like they got back a broken piece of equipment, and it wasn't our fault that it happened. But I think it is important just to express the fact that you do see their perspective and you do know that it sucks, basically, that happened. But if you express that empathy towards them and maybe offer some other suggestions and say, hey, let's say it was the motherboard that went bad, and that may not be a cost-effective way, or it may not be cost-effective to fix that, talk to them about some other options, a new computer, and maybe you'll do the free setup on it for them if they purchase a new computer from you, because it's not cost-effective to fix the motherboard. That would be something maybe I would do. If it was a lower-end computer, I probably wouldn't fix the motherboard, for example. I did have one a while back that I fixed, like either bad RAM or bad hard drive, something small on the inside, and then their screen broke. That's obviously due to further damage. They dropped it or they did something. So in those cases, I wouldn't fix it, but yeah, it is very situational on what the extra damage is, that comes in a couple days later. Sometimes they caused it, sometimes they didn't, and that's where you have to express that empathy and maybe do something extra for that client.
Okay, I like that. And Marvin, what do you say?
Screw the customer.
Yikes. All comments and coming from Marvin Bee or Marvin Bees alone has no reflection to the Podnutz network.
That board failing wasn't my fault. Well, I probably have two different policies based on the two different types of customers. So if they're a long-time customer or client, I'm going to probably do whatever I can to take care of them. Bottom line is it probably wouldn't matter to me if they bought a new computer from me or bought it from someplace else. I would offer to transfer all their stuff from their old hard drive at no cost, just because it was that close. Not a big deal for us, data transfer, all of that. Newer customers, or if it's a first-time customer, I might, give them a little bit of a discount, but because I'm not a store, because I don't do hardware repair and all that stuff as a normal basis, they know coming to me, this is more of a consultant type deal. So, it's not like they're bringing their computer to me and I've got 100 computers, going through the shop a week or something like that. So, I probably would have a little bit of a slant on that. So I probably would give some sort of discount and, feel for them. But because of the nature of what I do, I probably wouldn't be willing to give too much free unless they were a longtime customer and I knew that they were going to be coming back. If I've got a business that, I'm making, 20, 30, 40 grand on, because they're going to buy servers and stuff like that, then yeah, I'll do whatever I can to make sure I take care of them.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, and it's the expectation that's set, right? I just want to bring up in the chat, Dave's Computers, he makes a really good comment. He's saying that if he's busy for the week and it's a Wednesday, this is how much it is or I'm going to pass. And he says, finding people who base our services on price are not who I want to deal with in the end. Those are the customers that are going to keep complaining. And I mean, I appreciate that. I've gone on rants on the show about that before, but I think we're talking about kind of two different issues here, where you've got like the customer service side of it, and it's not just a new customer coming in demanding a lower price.
Right. Yeah. Again, if there's ever a pushback on the customer for wanting a lower price or whatever, you're getting nothing from me.
Right.
Matter of fact, the price just might go up, to be honest with you, because I can do that. But from this standpoint, in Computer Pro in the chat room had also said something, and this is normally what I do, and I'll explain why I can't exactly do exactly this. Now, number one, I have their data backed up. So part of my thought process is, I always tell people, hey, you know what? It's not worth fixing this computer. Let's get a new one. Bring it to me. I will set it up for you. And I've done this many, many times. I'll set it up for you. I'll transfer your data over, and I'll get you back up and running on a brand new computer. And I'll give, hey, here's a couple of solutions that might be at Best Buy or something like that, because I don't sell that stuff. I don't find the need to supply or even have a way to get that stuff for the customer necessarily. Now maybe that'll change down the road, but for right now it's like, go to Best Buy, get this one. Don't get anything extra. I'll set it up. I'll make sure everything's right. You have everything there you need. You just need to buy the computer and bring it to me. And I've had people go straight to Best Buy, grab it, bring it straight to me, don't even unbox it, give it to me. I set it up for them, transfer their data, give it back to them. So in that sense, yes, that is one thing that we can actually do in this situation. Now, my understanding is this particular customer had a new computer that was being set up. I'm not sure exactly how far they went with that whole setup. So one of my other thoughts was, maybe if they already have a computer set up and they just want their data, obviously they're going to want their data because there was a lot of it, like 100 gigs. And what I'm going to do is maybe put that on a external hard drive, which they're like $60 for a 1 terabyte external Western Digital passport, and give that to the customer and go, here you go. Here's all your data backed up. You can transfer it to your computer, and we're good to go. Because the only other there's not too much you can do outside of that. I thought about, we'll just do a data transfer and here's some money back or whatever on the actual fix. But again, I just want to make it a point to where the customer is getting the best bang for the buck in a good deal in an honest day's effort. And I also want to make sure that I'm protecting myself as far as I'm getting paid for the services that I've already rendered. Again, I'm not out to get anybody, and I want them coming back, and I want them telling other people. And again, when I gave them my price for reinstalling the operating system and all that, they didn't balk at it. It's like, okay, no big deal. So it's definitely not a cheap customer I'm looking at, but it's a good amount of money to get something where 2 days later you have something that's basically a brick. Okay. All right, I think we've dealt with that. I appreciate everybody's feedback on that, and always good to learn what other people would do in this situation. I think we're kind of all on the same page. We don't really have any emails, but I do have one conversation from Facebook, and this is from Dave Molnar, and he is in a couple of the groups that I'm a part of on Facebook, and he messaged me the other day and asked me a question. Basically, it goes like this. He says, I get asked by school groups to donate for sports and etc. What about asking them to promote me and in return give them 15% of every sale that they get from the referrals? What do you guys think about something like, because that's kind of and what I told him was, this is great outside the box thinking, because it's not a lot of times clubs and different things will come to a business owner and say, hey, can you give us $500 to $1,000?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even use your service, but they want money from you for their group. So in my opinion, this is a great way to have a win-win situation. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's a great thing to do. In my area in particular, we have tons of schools. I probably get a call once a month from a school trying to get sponsorships. What I did actually about a year ago is a friend of mine was the director of one of the choral groups at one of our high schools, and they needed a new website. So I do websites, and so we did a website. It's a small school group, so they didn't have a ton of money up front to pay me for the website. So in return, they're actually putting an advertisement for me in their performance pamphlets. So every time they have a performance, my advertisement gets handed out to 1,000 people. But so we did that in return for a website, and I maintained their website for them. So this kind of advertisement thing is just ongoing until I guess the terms of our agreement changes, but we've been doing this for a couple of years now. I maintain their site, no questions asked. They put an ad in their advertisement for me, so it's worked for me.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think that there's going to be a lot of concern about doing something like that, especially if they're trying to raise for something specific. A lot of the times when they're looking for sponsorships and they're looking for all of that, it's because they need the money now. Not to say that you couldn't do something recurring. Like I was looking at possibly doing donations to a charity where I choose a month, and during that month we take a certain percentage and donate, our gross revenue on a percentage to that charity in exchange for, social media exposure and all of that. But you might not be able to crack in there if it's just something that they need funding for quicker.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
As far as on my part, I think it's great out of the box thinking when you don't have the funds to be able to do a sponsorship, because essentially, we're all humans, we're all business owners, and we're trying to figure out a way of getting our name out there. So essentially, when this type of opportunity comes up, you're not only benefiting and helping out that charity, sponsorship, school, organization, but you're also getting your name out there, right? So essentially, if you don't have the money to be able to do a sponsorship like that, being able to do something similar with the 15% off works out. But on a lot of the things you want to do, like on us, we will go ahead and do donations, but it's for causes that we believe in or fit our mold. So, for example, we made a donation to a elementary school in the area because they needed iPad covers and headphones for their class because they got iPads donated to them, but they couldn't use them without the covers and headphones. That was like kind of the disclaimer for them. We'll give them to you, but you need this to protect them. So they set up I think it was like a GoFundMe page or something like that, and it was like $800, and they were still missing the 500 because people, like several members, had donated up to 3. So we came up with the other 5. And the reason why we did that was because we wanted to give back to the community from where the area was. It's kids it's with technology, and that's definitely something we want to focus on, is being able to get technology in kids' hands so they can get a better footing as they grow up. So that was something we believed in, and that's why we did it. Other times it's just the people and the belief of what they're doing. I have a buddy of mine who does a baseball camp. Again, for kids, and I'm just a sucker for kids and being able for them to volunteer and get them active and just out of the streets, etc., especially in Chicago. So he's running a baseball camp. So what I do is our agreement is, hey, I don't have much money to be able to give you a dollar amount, but hey, let me buy you baseballs, because baseball is gold for the baseball camps. Let me go ahead and pitch in to help you out with the uniforms and stuff like that. That's not coming out of pocket for the guy who's running it, one of my good friends. So it's things like that that speak to me on being able to do that. But on the tip side of it as well, it's a matter of making sure that people know that we are not. It's basically to humanize us, right? Is to understand that, hey, our business, yes, we are a computer repair shop. However, we are trying to make sure that we are there for those who are asking help as well. So that just helps us on our part, where people are going to say, hey, you know what? They're not just a computer repair shop. They're not a branding identity. There's got people here that actually care. And that's kind of what we try to do from time to time.
Okay, good. Marvin?
I don't care.
You're
Man,
not
we're getting
getting
some
my
great
money.
stuff from him today.
I actually do like the ideas. I just haven't done any of that. I do a couple of things with sponsorship. It's if I can afford to give the money, I just give the money. I just don't look for any, anything on the back end, referrals or, giving them 10% or whatever. I don't do any of that. It's whether it's a golf tournament for one of my buddies, my mom's church. Basically, I just give it if I can afford it, and they all know that my business model doesn't match a lot of times what their clientele or their whatever the reason we sponsor is. They're usually not going to end up being my customers. But
Right.
what I do is, if they need help, they can call me and I can find them a referral for what they do need.
Okay.
So that's really the only thing I really have to offer on that subject. Sorry.
No, that's good. I think, just to clarify so everybody understands what Dave was talking about, Dave is basically talking about if this group or school or whatever, the association will go out and tell other people to use his computer shop to get their computer fixed, and we're probably talking residential here for the most part, those people that come in, he's still going to take they don't get a discount. He's still going to take the full amount of money. What he's going to do is he's going to take 15% of what he makes off that referral, because they're going to come in and say, so-and-so club told me about you. And what they're going to do is he's going to take that 15%, put it into a big lump sum, once a month, whatever. And this group or association is going to be able to get a recurring revenue on a regular, ongoing basis, because we all know how these things go. It's like you might, like Chris was saying, you might need the money right away, but you always need the money. And if you had money that was going into a fund that would benefit that group over time, over the years, then that might make a lot more sense. And again, it's one of those things that I hadn't really thought of, but I think it's a great idea. And like Paco and everybody was saying, it's a great way to get your identity out there so people know, hey, they're going to support us. Let's also support them. And it's a win-win situation. So anytime there's a win-win situation, I like those best because they make the most sense to me. All right. Let's go ahead and take a quick break, and then we'll get into our main topic. Our show today brought to you by Pulse Printing and Promotions. Get help with all your print and promotional needs. Business cards, postcards, stickers, mouse pads, fridge and car magnets, shirts, pens, and so much more. You can see some of the most popular items online, and new items are being added all the time. If you need something that is not listed, just ask. Make sure you use the promo code Podnutz for 5% off every order. It never expires. You can also sign up for their newsletter to receive monthly specials. If you sign up for the newsletter now, you will be entered to win 500 business cards, free of charge. Darren over at Pulse Printing and Promotions designed and printed my business cards, and I couldn't be happier. They're exactly what I wanted. I gave them basically a few tools, my name, place of business, phone number, email, and a picture of me, and said, here's kind of what I was thinking, and he threw it together, and I said, yeah, perfect, print them. I got them. Nice, good, thick business cards, better quality than I've had before from other vendors, like, I won't mention their names, but anyways, some of the other ones that we buy that aren't too far from me, and they start with the name Vista. Anyways, go to pulseprintpromo.com and use the offer code Podnutz. We had a winner of 500 business cards from the previous time. So if you sign up for the newsletter now, and I'll give you guys a little hint, there was only 5 people that signed up for the newsletter. So Darren basically did a random draw out for those 5 people, and one of those people, which was Randy Smith from Tech Guy 911, won the last set of business cards. So for this roundabout, we've got a couple more weeks left going in this promotion. Go ahead and sign up for his newsletter. You'll get a free chance to win 500 free business cards. And who couldn't use more business cards?
It's very true.
If you can't use more business cards, you're not passing them out fast enough. At least that's what somebody told me a long time ago. All right.
What?
So,
Does Marvin have business cards?
except Marvin, who's outside of the box with
I-
everything.
I
Keep
used-
forgetting about how he has his customers coming out of the walls.
All right. With that dramatic pause, let's go into the main topic. It says how do we handle competition that goes out of business if someone was supporting a business client and they disappear? How do you handle some of the questions that a business owner might have before they decide to use you? And the reason this happens all the time, and I think a lot of times in the industry, people they try to basically do things themselves as much as they can until they have to call an expert in. But a lot of times, if somebody's been supporting them, and then I hear this all the time, people disappear or they stop returning phone calls or whatever. Something happens to them. And how do you make your customer understand you're in it for the long haul, you're going to be around, you're going to do whatever you're going to do, and you're going to give them a way that they can actually move on with their business even if you are not around. So what are some of the things how can we do that for our customer? Because Chris, this was a subject that you brought up, so why don't you go ahead and start with some of the things you've been going through over the last month and just kind of go into what we've been talking about.
Sure. Yeah. No. Absolutely. And I mean, this is multi-tiered, right? Because I mean, most of you already know this. I'm going to say it again. I do have my own business and I have the white label, and I've seen it happen on both sides where, I wind up with calls coming in through our white label services where they're saying, hey, I was working with blah 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 company. You're from blah 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 company. How do I know you're going to be there next week? If I have a question. Same thing with our retirement plans. We have a retirement plan now, and we have some of our clients go out of business. We help them out with some recurring revenue, and it's the same question: how do I know you're going to be there next week? And it's been a struggle because I can sit there and tell somebody, well, yeah, my company has been in business since 2012. Officially incorporated, not just me doing it. So there's a lot of hesitation there because, well, yeah, but the last guy I was working with was in business for 7 years, for 8 years, for 10 years. And I got an email from them last week that says that they're closing the doors. So how am I supposed to handle that? And I haven't found a good answer yet. I mean, I have some things that I've been doing that has worked for some of the people calling. Mainly, mentioning that, hey, we have service level agreements. So I do have an agreement form that I have that I signed with my clients that asks them, if they're going to be on any kind of a maintenance contract. Here's the length of the contract. Changes need to have this much notice, and you can only make changes during these types of times. And I mean that does give them some form of stability with that, to know that I have to give you 30 days notice before I can make a change on a month-to-month contract. But what's to stop me from sending out an email tomorrow that says, hey, you know what, guys, I've decided that next week I'm not going to be in business anymore, so here's 7 days notice instead of 30, sorry. And I mean, I wouldn't do that. I'm sure that nobody on the panel here would do that because we have too much respect for our customers and on that side. So if we can avoid it, we can. But what happens if I get hit by lightning, right? Or hit by a bus, or what happens if somehow I go completely bankrupt tomorrow, right? Through no fault of my own. How do we handle that with those customers? And yeah, I haven't found a good answer that has satisfied every client calling in yet. So it'd be great to hear your feedback on that.
All right.
I can say something about that.
Go ahead, Josh.
This is the answer that I've given a lot of my business clients, and the thing is, we could argue this point whether this is smart or not, but I intentionally don't hold the keys to my client's business. As far as their IT infrastructure goes. Everything that they need is given to them in a binder. And when I deploy a new server with workstations and all new passwords and new Wi-Fi systems and all that kind of stuff, I give them every bit of information they need in a binder before I leave. And so I tell them, this is the if I die binder. If I die, you can take this to another technician and they can log into your server. You can log into all your workstations. You can manage your Wi-Fi network. And this is everything you need if I were to die tomorrow. And that's a morbid way of putting it. But if I were to go out of business, the client, in my experience, the client has felt so much more comfortable working with me, knowing that they're going to get the keys to their system. I tell them, I say, don't open this unless you absolutely have to. Don't try to go into your server and start reconfiguring your domain controller and all this kind of stuff. Don't do that. Talk to me first. But here's the information. Throw it up on a shelf somewhere and give it to another technician if I were to fall off the face of the earth. That's helped me and make the customer feel a lot more comfortable.
That's a great answer. I like it because I was going to say something along those lines, but you've got a binder that you actually give. Very good. Yeah. All right. Who else? Paco?
I'll save mine for last.
Well, so can I make mention, too, that this isn't necessarily because their business is not going to run if you're not there, right? This isn't one of those situations where maybe they won't have they won't have anything or passwords or whatever, because that's not always the problem. A lot of the times the problem is that our clients and our customers find it difficult to find an IT company that they can trust that's going to be able to provide the level of service that they've come to expect, especially in a business sense. Because, I mean, residential customers like, oh, okay, great, I have to find a new IT guy. That's going to suck.
Right.
Right. But for a business, I need to now find an IT company that will be able to respond in the amount of time that I need in order to be able to keep my business going in the case of an IT disaster. Because I don't care if somebody has their Wi-Fi password or has all their server credentials so that they can get another tech to fix it. They have to find the tech that'll fix it. And that is a scary proposition, especially for those clients that we have successfully been able to convince that you really shouldn't be running your own IT department, which is not an untrue statement, and this isn't tricking customers at all. I mean, but we've all seen it, right? Where we walk into a small business and we find out that the owner or the owner's son or, my friend, the computer guy, has been taking care of the IT for years. And you walk in and find out why they're having all these performance problems is because it wasn't set up right in the first place. So, I mean, that's a terrifying idea for, like, even an insurance broker, right? I received a phone call from an insurance broker, same thing. The IT guy that was taking care of his system just closed up shop. He gave everybody out an email and said, listen, I'm going to be around for the next week, but then I'm moving. So, hey, thanks everybody for your business. And if his backups go down or if his computer goes down, he can't do anything because of the way that the regulations work, where he can't just pick up another computer and go. He has to have another computer set up, encrypted, and do all those things to be able to get the personal information from the insurance customers into that system and process an insurance claim or an insurance sale. So he's literally dead in the water until somebody sets up a computer for him. That's scary for a customer. And I think that most of us can appreciate that, but I think that this is also something that a lot of us haven't considered before is that peace of mind for the clients and what it is that we can tell them when they're coming in and becoming a new customer of ours in that kind of a situation.
Right.
I'm not even sure if we can resolve that tension, though, as a technician. We're not going to say to our clients, okay, here's the information of the second best IT guy in Richmond, Virginia. And so if I go away, here's the second best guy to call. I don't think we're not going to do that, for one.
No.
But in the end of the day, it sucks. The client's going to have to go find another IT guy, and that's something I know. Also, what I don't do is go to my client and say, I'm the best company in the area. I don't, say that, because then they're like, well, nobody else is going to compare, and that's not just a true statement. They will find somebody else. They will get their issues resolved, and that's, that can't be our tension to deal with. Unfortunately, that's just the client's tension to deal with.
It is, but do you have a plan, right? And so your plan is they have everything, so they're fine. Right. And that's a fine plan. On an IT perspective, that's absolutely a fine plan, and I would lose no sleep if that was the plan, that they have all their information, so if something happened and they could no longer get a hold of me as of an hour from now, they'll be fine as soon as they find another IT company. And there's nothing wrong with that plan, but you have a plan.
Right.
And so you can tell that to your client, like, yep, I have a plan because you have everything in this binder. So if you ever need to find a new IT company, make sure you give them this binder, and they'll be able to take care of you. And the majority of your clients will probably be fine with that. There's nothing wrong with it. But how many people here, how many people in the chat don't have a plan, period?
Right. Yeah, I think that's, and we got a call coming in here in a second I want to bring in, but I think that's part of the issue is the only thing you can do is the best you can to make sure that, and I agree with Josh on this, is having the keys of the kingdom, because, again, you can sit there, and I've said this before, over 75% of people get out of this business. So I don't know that there's anything concrete you could put in place that wouldn't change a year from now or 2 years from now. As far as who's available out there, you're basically, the person's going to have to go out there and find somebody, unless you are partnering with another group or another company that if something happens to either one can take over. But how many times do you hear that happening, right? So I don't know if that's an actual thing that can go on. Let's take this phone call here real quick, and then we'll kind of go in, because hopefully it has something to do with this with the situation here. Hey, Aaron, how you doing?
Hey, guys, how's it going?
Good, man.
I'm always good, man.
Good to have you.
I was listening on the road, so I couldn't type into the chat, but, I mean, like you guys are saying, you could throw every single solution at that customer and trying to convince them, that you're going to be around in a year or 2 or 3 or 5. In the sales process, I think questions are probably the most versatile tool that you have. So I don't know, Chris, maybe it might work just to try experiment. Ask them, how I know that I'm in this for the long haul. How can I demonstrate that for you sufficiently? And just see what they come back with,
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of gives them the control over the situation as well. So whatever they come back and say, if you can address that sufficiently, then that should win the sale, right?
Yeah, and one would think so. And I guess the point that I'm kind of trying to make is that we're not going to be able to come up with a statement or a policy that's going to make everybody happy. It's just not going to happen. But what is one thing that you can do that would at least help try to alleviate some of that? And having a plan and even bothering to think about that in the first place, I think, is a huge step in the right direction. And I mean, I've checked with IT companies and IT contacts that I deal with on a regular basis, and I've asked them, like, what is the plan that you have in place for this? And the majority of them never had one. It's never been something that's even come into mind as what should happen if something were to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, nobody wants to think about that. I mean, it's kind of again, I think Josh said this, it's kind of a morbid thought. What happens if I get hit by a bus tomorrow? But nobody wants to think in that way. They're like, we're here, I'm doing fine, everything's working out okay, my health is good or whatever, and I'm going to be here till the end of time, and we're all good. So we don't really think about that plan. How do we transition? And this might even go into something of down the road of what happens if you want to sell your business.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that plan set up in place? And the answer probably, again, Chris, for most of your customers would probably be no.
Absolutely.
I didn't think about that.
Absolutely, because we're so focused on running this business, we're so focused on growing the business, we're so focused on customer acquisition, customer retention, that responsibility, and I see it as a responsibility, that responsibility of at least having something in place so that their business doesn't completely shut down just because you're gone. Mm-hmm. Needs to be there.
Yeah, and let me take this back a step too. Is one of the things that, okay, so for a lot of businesses, everything is an emergency. And the reality is, I've looked at a lot of small, medium businesses. In reality is, they could go back to pen and paper. Absolutely, easily, no problem, no questions asked. Now there are a few businesses out there that's not true, mm-hmm. But those aren't the majority of the businesses that we're all dealing with. So I think there's going to be a grain of salt with that type of thinking too. How much do I need to protect this customer? And again, I think it really comes back to them having the ability to be able to get into, either have another technician get into the server, get into the workstations, have the ability to do all that stuff. Yes, can somebody come in and hard reset all that stuff? Absolutely. But it takes so much more time and effort, where is if they already have the keys, they can go in and fix the problem in a short manner. And let's face it, there is no shortage of techs in the world, I don't think. They're popping up all the time, which is a good thing. There's a lot of diversity in the industry, and there's always going to be somebody that you can find. And again, it comes back into contacts and who you know, and maybe making those types of deals down the road where you can help another business out or they can help you out, type thing.
Well, but you bring up an interesting point. Is that you're right. Most businesses can run without their computers if they need to, and they could go back into pen and paper. But I guess that leads into yet another question. Is that for those customers that could go back to pen and paper, if you have them on some sort of a managed plan, are you creating a PPA process for them to be able to run when their system's down?
I'm sorry, what is a PPA?
I'm sorry. I'm going back to Honda terms here. The manual process, right? Yes, everything should have a manual process, and that should all be there. So as the IT technician that's managing this small business on a service contract, have you assisted them in outlining what their manual process is? And I can tell you that I have. For those clients who are able to do that are on a managed system, that are small businesses, I've gone through and helped them create a plan on what they're going to do in those cases. But I don't think that most people have. And the only reason why I've done it is because I come from a corporate background where we were required as an IT department to have that process in place.
Right. Well, I think one of the things, if you go back to the way I look at it, if the client is willing to, as part of the managed services program, is willing to pay for that, absolutely. But here's what you're going to find: most are not. They're not going to pay for you to come into their business and make up a manual process, even though it's probably the right thing to do. The reality is, yes, it's the right thing to do as long as somebody's paying for it.
Well, I mean, you would build it into the cost if you were going to do it, or have them sign off that you're not going to create a process like that, and you're not responsible if they're down, and all of that. I mean, there's a lot of legal stuff that we can get into, and then you're going to come back and tell me it doesn't matter until you get to court.
You know me well. No, that's a good point. That's a good point of having that in some sort of a checklist, though. That's something that probably most people don't think of. And hey, it is another way to not only protect your customer. Again, we're talking about win-win situations. It's not only a way to protect your customer, it's also a way for you to make more money. Also, rightfully.
Sure.
Not in a bad way.
Let's face it. I mean, the purpose of this isn't so much that I want to get all these customers and I can't get these customers because of this problem. I mean, clearly, if that's the only reason why they're not going with you, then that's not the type of client that I want anyway, because they're just paranoid. But it'll come down to, where does my responsibility as an IT person end with these business clients? And I find that I tend to take a lot of responsibility onto myself, and that's one of the reasons why I have long-term clients that since the beginning, when I first started my business. I have some of these clients that I've had since the beginning. They're never going to go anywhere else, just because of how much effort I put in for them. So at what point are we taking things too far, but at one point are we not going far enough? Right. And this has been a question that I have wrestled with on myself for quite a while, as far as these backup plans. And I mean, I've gotten down to the point where I have a list of people that if anything were to happen, these are the list of people that I would like to call on and see if they can take over my local clients and do all of that. Like, I have all that set up. But I don't know that they have anything like that set up, or are they even still going to be in business if I go out of business, right? So it's this crazy cyclical problem that you wind up getting into your head, and I think at the end of the day, it's something that small IT companies are going to have a struggle with if they're ever faced with that kind of opposition.
All right, so let's hear from the man who doesn't care, and that would be Marvin Bee. Marvin, what do you have set up, or do you have anything set up, or is this even a thought process as far as protecting your customer and making sure that they are able to function if you are no longer around?
Well, the first thing I need to clarify is that if I were to come into a situation like, I don't know, winning the lottery, I don't care. Here's what I can add to the conversation. I have been on both sides of that conversation because when I started out, when I had techs and when I didn't have techs, it has always been a question that customers want to know. If I can't get a hold of you, what do we do?
Right.
And so you've got the perspective of you've got to treat it, every situation, like a disaster plan. So if the business were to not function, whether it's their business, your business, or whatever, if something doesn't work, what do they do? And from my perspective, it's always been that at the time that I had the shop or the techs, I could say, listen, if something happens to me, there's going to be guys here, gals here that can take care of you. You don't need to worry about that. They're all qualified. They're all, going to be able to find all the information you need. So you have that information. You have their, what I used to call the box of life, because we would basically provide them everything, just like Josh said. They've got their passwords. They've got their disks. They've got all their stuff. And I literally would tell them, this is your box of life. Do not lose this. And so even if something as simple as the hard drive dies or something like that, I had customers that always be like, I got my box of life. What do I do? Now on the flip side, I just 2 weeks ago had a meeting with a tech that I've worked with for 19 years, who has been struggling because he is a one-man shop. And he's been trying to accelerate his business with his, cloud virtual servers, doing all of this stuff. But he did run into the situation where he was losing customers because it was just him. And he could not provide them with a scenario of, well, what happens, if you're not here and we can't get a hold of you. So basically, he came over and spent an entire morning with me 2 weeks ago going over his entire customer plans so that he could now go to his customers and say, I have a backup. So if something happens to me, if I get hit on a bus, or if I'm away on vacation and don't come back or whatever, there is somebody that can now come in and take over the customers. And what's funny is he and I have kind of been each other's backup for a while. He's been one of my backups. He's not in my formal backup plan that I have with a few of my customers, and you're not going to get this with everyone. Some of them are just not going to care, or they're not going to worry. They're happy they have a tech, and as long as you can set up policies and procedures that if something happens, they can call up another tech, and move along. And you just set up all of that stuff to make it so that if something happens, and their business, your business, hurricane, lottery, they can move on and they can do whatever it is that they need to do.
That's good. That's good. All right, so ending off, we have Paco Lebron, and for everybody that knows, Paco was doing double duty today, so definitely appreciate that. He was bringing in our phone calls, and he's on the show also. So Paco, what do you have to say to this whole scenario, and what do you do or not do, or what have you been thinking about over the last month or so if this situation comes up?
So I'm going to attack this on two fronts. Being on the side of having someone cancel on you and close up shop out of nowhere, and also on the other end of yourself. So I agree with a lot of people, what Josh has said, what Marvin has said. You want to definitely make sure that you have as much information that the customer can have in their hands if you did get hit by a bus. So I use Matt Rainey's Informed IT forms to go ahead and put all their information and basically put all those forms together in a binder. Hey, if anything happens, or if you were to fire us, here's your information, etc. But the issue for me is there isn't a good way to answer those questions. It's going to be on a client-by-client basis because, exactly like what Chris said, there is no uniform answer that you can give. There's so many personalities out there. You will have to figure out what way is going to hit with that person on explaining to them, hey, I'm in it for the long haul. I have been doing this for quite some time. I understand that you did have some business with another technician that wasn't very favorable. You know, I can't speak for them. I can speak for you right now. So I can tell you right now, we have been in business for this long. We expect and are trying to do this for another X amount of years. We have no plans on going anywhere. And you kind of just have to be with the honest and try and meet them on a personable level, because there isn't no concrete way to say, because no one can tell the future, right? I mean, no one's going to know if you do get hit by a bus or if you're out of pocket for X amount of months due to a situation. And that's where you have the backups. So like for me, I have, for everybody who knows, I have Andy Kuros. He's my backup for any time I'm out of pocket or if I just can't get to anywhere. I have another tech that will help me out in that aspect of it. But closing up shop automatically or closing up shop at a notice of a dime, that's inexcusable. And the reason why I say that is because if you have built your reputation to care about your customers, you should care about your customers enough that if you are experiencing bad times, that you work out a plan to get them in a right place. Being able to, so like for example, like Chris used the example of, hey, I'm not giving you 30 days notice, I'm giving you 7 days notice. Sorry, but as long as they're giving them some type of notice and trying to help them get away so it's not a horrible situation, all for it. You know, that's great because you gave notice. For those who don't give notice and just shut down shop day after and say you're on your own, I have no respect for. That's just, you don't do that. I mean, I don't care if you are getting lawsuits that has to shut your business down, if you can't meet your financial responsibilities. It's on you as a human being for what you have done to establish your personable and responsibility as a company to make sure your customers fine, and it's on you to help them fine to get it along the way, whether it's on your time and you're not getting paid for that. Because a lot of these times, a lot of these managed services that companies that are probably having customers pay them on a monthly basis, they probably had paid for that entire month already up front. So if you're in the middle of the month and you're saying you have to shut down, guess what? They paid for 2 weeks. You're going to work those 2 weeks. Even though you don't have the time and effort for it, you need to get it right with the customer. That's my personal opinion of it. So if I ever had to shut down, no matter what I know, I'm going to make sure that the bad situation for me is not going to bleed over for my customers as much as possible.
Yeah, and you want to do the best within your ability to make sure that your client is taken care of, and that's really what we're talking about. I think too is Chris was talking about that with the 30 days notice, making sure that you have some sort of plan in place, even if something tragic doesn't happen to you, you can actually take care of that customer until the time that that you can part ways amicably and move along and do something else. So yeah, I think that's the way everybody needs to kind of approach this, is make sure you have these plans set in place that are going to benefit your customer on the back end should something either terrible or not so terrible happen, that you can actually take care of business for the foreseeable time. And and it comes back to, I think a lot of times why we get caught up into these situations, it comes back to the simple thing called price. A lot of times that you really need to make sure that when you're putting a business plan together, and especially when you're working with businesses, I think that you need to build in those things that might happen and make sure that you're covering your costs so that no matter what happens, you've still got what they call runway. You've still got a little bit of money in your pocket that you can deal with these problems for 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it is. And a lot of people don't, let's face it, I don't know how Canada is. You guys got everything for free, but here in the U.S., it's paycheck to paycheck.
Dude, what do you think our country is, that we just have social programs for everything?
No, it's just fodder for the show, man.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure.
You don't have social programs for everything?
You know what? I'm pretty sure that we don't have social programs for penguins. Just saying, penguins are out of luck here.
That you know of.
That I know of. Well, I've never applied, so
Actually,
I guess
we probably do. So I don't know what that means, but anyway. No, you need to have something set up in place where you're going to be able to take care of that customer and just do the best within your ability, but also make sure that you build that runway in. Make sure that you're charging enough so that you have enough to go on if something bad does happen. Like these guys are saying too. When it comes to residential customers, a lot of times that's not as big a deal. But when you're supporting a business, whether they need to be up and running because that's how they run their business, or they could maybe run fine for a couple of days without their infrastructure, that's one thing. But you still want to make it so that it's easy for them, and even if you're not here, it doesn't leave a bad taste in your mouth.
Let's also remember that the premise of the original question was, what do you do when another business has abandoned a client and they're coming to you and they're looking for reassurance that you're not going to do the exact same thing? Part of what we've got to do is have all of that stuff set up so that we're presenting ourselves as the company that's going to be professional, that's not going to dump them. And, so having all of that in place is good. The other thing we need to do is, make sure that we are exactly what we're doing here, helping other techs bring their game up so that, we don't have an industry of people that are, coming in, getting a quick hit, and then disappearing. Because I don't think it's going to go away. I think we have that one industry where people can get in and get out at any time, no certification, no business license, no nothing. So we do have to set ourselves apart in doing that. I have a ton of guys over the years that have left the industry for whatever reason, or just simply stop returning calls. And those customers that I got because of that are the types of customers that they're hard to get rid of. Because once they find somebody that they can trust, somebody that they know is taking care of them, somebody that's good and decent, they're not going to want to let go.
Right.
And so, we just need to work amongst ourselves and make sure that people coming into the industry, these young people like Chris, step up to the plate and do your business right.
Absolutely.
Just like Chris is now.
Thank you for that, Marvin. I appreciate that.
All right. I think we have went a little bit over time, but I think we've all added a lot to this conversation as far as the things that we need to do, and Marvin's exactly right. We need to bring the industry standard up, and I've explained this to my kids many a times. No matter what type of job they go into, no matter what they do, all they have to do is be just a little bit more than their coworkers, and they'll go far. Because that's all it really takes anymore. Just a little bit better than somebody else. Just having your ducks in a row, having your tools branded for you, paying for your tools that you're using, paying your taxes, doing the proper things you need to do. Those are the things that set you apart of being a professional versus being a Craigslist kid, I guess that's the best way to put it. So definitely think about that down the road. And, yeah, exactly. This has been a great conversation for all that stuff. I'll tell you what, Josh, if people wanted to find out more about what you're up to and maybe ask you a question or something, where could they do that?
Sure. The best way is email, josh@yourpcmagician.com. You can check out my website, yourpcmagician.com, and I'm also on the Facebook and Twitters at yourpcmagician.
Awesome. Appreciate you coming out and sharing with us, man. It's been awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, and Paco Lebron, go ahead and pimp your stuff, all except for your other podcasts.
Oh, man. So
I'm just kidding. Just tell it all, man.
Oh, I was going to regardless, but I was trying to figure out the clever way of coming out. But anyway, you can find me over on LinkedIn or on Twitter, shytechceo.com, or actually just shytechceo. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because there is, for anybody who's in the Chicago area, there is a small business expo happening April 21st. And so anybody who's going to, I will be there for the majority of, basically all day. So I will be on Twitter kind of tweeting where I'll be in those workshops with the hashtag where I'll go into next, YFNCG. And that's where you can also find me, is over at Your Friendly Neighborhood Computer Guy on the podcast, the Computer Business Podcast with Matthew Rodella and myself. We have a podcast that gets released every other Tuesday, twice every month, and you can catch us over on yfncg.com.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of good information over there. Definitely, the blog is chock full of information. The podcast brings a lot of people from the industry and enlightens you a little bit on how things kind of work in business. So it's a great podcast over there. And Paco brings his flavor to the.
Yeah, what is up with that? Anyway.
Okay. And let's see, Marvin Bee, where can people find you at, since you don't care?
On a beach down here in Fort Lauderdale. Go to my website, maninthevan.net. There you can find all my information for my mailing address, email, phone number, the thingies for the Facebook and the Google Plus, and a picture of my beach right there on the front page.
That's just wrong, but thank you. Appreciate you coming out. Okay, and Mr. Chris Carruthers, where can people find you at, and what you're up to, and what do you do in your business?
Well, actually, with all the snow that's flying right now, you probably wouldn't be able to find me. So we are a remote support tech team. We provide white label IT services for computer technicians. You can visit us online, www.rstechteam.com. You can email us at info@rstechteam.com, or you can give us a call, 866-568-2813.
Awesome. Appreciate you. All right, and the couple things. Number one, the forms that Paco was talking about, you can find over on informedit.net, and that is our good friend Matt Rainey who has put those together. They're a PDF fillable format. You can take them to your customer. You can have them on your smartphone, tablet, fill them out, and make sure that you have good customer documentation for whatever you're doing, from networking to setting up a server. Very affordable. There is I will have the link in the show notes, and I think there's a 25% discount I will also put in there, and make sure that you guys take advantage of that. It's great to have these tools that you never know when you'll need them. Even if you don't need them right now, buy them anyway, because there will come a time when you need them, and it's better to have enough paperwork than not enough. All right, also coming up, the Toronto Unconvention, July 22nd through the 24th, 2016 in Toronto, Canada. So, yeah, we'll be in Chris's domain there, and with all the Canadian geese and whatnot. I don't know where that came from. Anyways, so that'll be going on there. Definitely, I will have a link in the show notes where you can sign up for tickets for that. The tickets are $200 US. Go ahead and sign up for that. There's only 100 tickets available, so make sure that you get yours early. We're going to have a fun time getting together, learning together, and getting good information, and just a time of camaraderie and pulling stuff together that that can help all of our businesses and give us that little push to maybe go do something a little bit extra outside of what we normally do. Come join us live for the Computer Repair Podcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern over at podnutz.com/Computer Repair Podcast Live. Join in on the conversation by calling in live or hanging out in the chat room. We have audio available over at podnutz.com, or subscribe using your favorite podcatcher. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Computer Repair Podcast. Send your questions and feedback to podnutz@podnutz.com. Or you can leave a voicemail for the show at 1-888-697-0162. And I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters. Appreciate you guys going out there and supporting the show. You guys can support the show by going to patreon.com/Computer Repair Podcast. And I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast. Good show, everyone. Good show. We're still on the air for those that don't know. And yes, I'm a poet, and I do know it. Just full of something and vinegar today. I don't know what to tell you.
Just today?
What are you trying to say, man?
I don't know what you're going to say.
I'm just happy. I'm happy to be here. Happy to have you.
You're passionate. That's what
Yes, I'm very passionate about what I do.
All right. I provide.
Josh, where are you based out of again? I forgot.
We're in Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yep.
So we got Chicago, Florida, Virginia, Michigan, Canada. We had a little bit
What's wrong
of
with
West
Canada?
Coast. Nothing. I didn't say
You keep on every time you say Canada, it sounds derogatory. I don't know what's going on there.
Actually, if I was going to say Canada, then that might be derogatory. But I say Canada. Okay.
Chris, we are going to be promoting Canada for the next 4 months.
That's true.
I had
That's
to
true.
go get my enhanced driver's license just to come across the border to see you.
You know what? You could have gotten a passport instead, and then you could have used it for other countries. I'm just saying.
The
Yeah, I
question
don't-
is, will he ever go to any other country?
No.
You got to get
I've
yourself
been-
one of these.
Ooh.
Is that the enhanced driver's license?
No, that's the passport.
What?
Yeah, you can get a card version too.
Yeah,
You
no,
can-
I have the paper passport because I'm in
You can,
Canada.
when you order it, you can actually get both.
I got
Right,
my real
I-
one too.
See, I thought that card was the enhanced driver's license to be able to go.
Nope.
To
No,
Canada
the
and
enhanced
Mexico.
driver's license is actually, as a matter of fact, they voided out my actual driver's license, and they basically, it's a license with an RFID chip in it.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, Illinois doesn't have that.
No, not every state does. So
Yeah,
this was
you're
just,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you better hurry because they're going to take away the 10-year passport soon.
Oh,
Are they
lovely.
really?
Yes.
Really, you guys are losing your 10-year passport?
Yep.
That's unfortunate for you.
That's, we're not worried about terrorists coming into the country. We're just worried about them getting out.
That's
Right.
right.
Oh,
Good times.
I just realized. So, I guess I got to order a new pair of earbuds. I just lost one ear.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
It just went out on me. I'm like going. Now, for those of you that don't know, the setup I had prior to December or January of this year, I basically had to, in order to get people on separate channels, I basically had to do a right pan and a left pan. So I put myself in the left pan, left-hand side, and I put everybody else in the right. So I was listening to people out of one ear the whole time anyways, and I was listening to myself so I could worry about how my audio was sounding or how loud or how loud it wasn't. And basically, so I was hearing it out of one ear. Well, I got used to doing that. Didn't bother me. Did it for 2 years. Then all of a sudden I change over and I'm like, oh, I can hear everybody in stereo now, plus myself. This is awesome. Well, I just lost the one ear. So.
No.
Are you sure it's the earbud? Because, you're up there.
Maybe his hearing aid cut out on the one side.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, let
need
me see if
miracle
I got a
ears.
battery there. It could be.
If it means anything, I won't have to worry about that for at least another 30 years.
Yeah, whatever.
Hey, are they still going to have your little low-income support program up there in 30 years?
Their little low income support program. What are you talking
Wow, I
about?
don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
Which one?
That's one of the social programs up there in Canada.
So we have Ontario Works. That's province to province, right? So in Ontario, we have a program called Ontario Works, and it's designed to help people who are trying to get a job but have not been able to. It doesn't really give you enough money to live comfortably off of, but you get a lot of free resources to help you, go to different workshops so you can learn how to write your resume properly, interviewing skills, and it helps you get a job. What we've really focused on around here, though, because in Barrie, Ontario is one of the fastest growing small business market. And there is actually more resources here to help you start a small business than there is to get a job.
Very interesting. Chris, I just want to thank you because you've saved me a lot of money. Because I was thinking about actually going to school to learn a second language. But I have you to actually teach me your language, so I don't actually have to go to school to learn that second language. So I can,
Canadian?
yeah,
Resources?
resources and
Niche.
How's it going, A?
Okay, now to be fair though, niche. Let's be fair about niche. You guys spell it Nitche or something like that, right?
No, we spell it the same way.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Yes,
we
we
do.
do.
N-I-C-H-E.
Same way.
Well, then why would you say niche? There's no T in there.
Because it's CH. What kind of school did you go?
Because
Where did-
we Americanize everything.
Exactly.
But where did the T come from?
I don't know.
Where did what come from?
The T, the T, the T.
The
It
CH.
came from you guys or something. I don't know.
No.
Didn't come
See,
from us.
if I wanted to say it like French Canadian wise, I'd say niche.
Come on, guys. Let's not do that.
I mean,
I've just offended every French Canadian out there. I apologize.
Pretty much.
I do.
oui, c'est ça.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I think with that being said, appreciate everybody coming out, and I'm going to actually stop the official show, and we'll see you guys next Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great week.